Hi, and welcome to Unmasking the Trans Movement News. I'm your host, Brad Wilder. Today on the show, a house of hospital horrors. There are evil things going on within hospitals across the United States, and I'm sure here in Canada as well. Dr. Ann Gillies is with us today to talk about this one particular doctor out of the States who has, got a lot to say on this topic of making gender and radical changes to kids. Now, this report is an investigative report, and there was really a Texas Children's Hospital, and the executives at the hospital had made some promises. They said they weren't going to basically take up any more of these surgeries. These surgeries would be coming to a stop, but as demonstrated through this whistleblower on this video we're going to play you in just a second, documents even, doctors continue to secretly provide puberty blockers and other treatments to children as young as 11 years old. Now, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, he launched an official investigation into Texas Children's Hospital and its so-called gender-affirming care program. Now, the state investigators, they're going to have full power to determine whether any laws have been broken. And the inside source, courtesy of Chris Rufo, has said that this is really a house of hospital horrors. There's a lot going on and a lot to take in here, Dr. Ann. Let's jump right in and get your take on you've read this story and you understand what Chris is saying, and you've seen the doctor who is, affirming some of these radical, deviant surgeries on kids as young as 11. Where do we stand right now in terms of moving forward? This obviously hasn't stopped, and in other states it hasn't stopped either.
Well, you're right. What we see and what you're going to watch in this very short clip that we are taking out of the investigation is that the doctor in this clip is absolutely not only misinformed, he's lying to the parents' face, and that it just makes me feel so angry. And what Christopher Rufo has discovered is what I've been saying for several years. The problem with gender-affirming care, it is dangerous. It is not care. It is not health care. It is a radical way of actually mutilating children's bodies, putting them on lifelong medication, which of course helps who? Big Pharma and the doctors performing the surgery, and certainly the hospitals. But listen to what this particular doctor at Texas Hospital says, and just kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of what parents and their children are being told.
Asked me, what about my parental rights, my rights as a parent? Really asking me, can you call my child their preferred name and pronouns? Okay. So, and I had a student with me, and I said, ma'am, you do have many parental rights, but I have to adhere to my own ethical standards as a physician. And I know the best thing to do for this child, their mental health, and really even their risk of suicide is to show them that respect of using the pronouns they go by, using the name they go by. And I'm often kind of working with families in the sense that, I'm not here to kind of question your entire worldview or belief system, but to work with you as a consultant. I can tell you both from experience and from the research, your child is less likely to both attempt and die by suicide if we use a supportive terminology with them and an open mind. And they're much less likely to have morbidity from anxiety, depression, and a number of other psychiatric issues if we use this affirming model.
So let me talk about this now. What this doctor is saying is not what is being found out from research. The majority of these children that are ending up at the gender clinics, and they have just been, they've grown all over the states. I think there was one or two in 2009, and now there's probably 100. But the majority of these children are on the autism spectrum. Previously to being diagnosed, they already have 3 to 5 pre-existing mental health issues. They already self-harm. They have suicidal ideation. They have sleeping disorders. They have ADHD. They have oppositional defiance. This is before they ever had a thought of being in the wrong body. And after a year on puberty blockers, what we found is that they have an increase of self-harm and suicidal ideation, and they have more behavioral problems, especially the girls. Puberty blockers actually exacerbate gender dysphoria. Can you imagine? It makes it worse. And yet this doctor, and the first thing he said when this is kind of, I forgot about this, but he said when the parents asking about their parental rights, he's saying, well, you're asking if I can call your child by their preferred pronouns. That's not what the parents are asking. They want to know if they can keep their child from being medicalized. And he just goes into this whole thing about his professional ethics. Well, his professional ethics are going to come under great question. And I hope there are lawsuits against this doctor. I don't want to see people being taken down. That's not but I am really, really wanting to see false information being addressed. And you know what's now being said in the UK, in Finland, in Sweden, in Norway, in Australia, and now in France, and I'll read you something in a minute from the France government, is that puberty blockers are a momentous step in the dark. Like, it's all been experimental, folks, and the evidence does not support anything to do with social transitioning or medicalizing your child. Listen to what the newest thing out from France. A parliamentary group in the French Senate has set up a working group to conduct an objective study on the risks faced by trans-identified minors. Finally, they're listening. The aim is to preserve psychological and physical integrity of the children and adolescents who have no medical problems. You hear what they're saying? They are going to stop some of this stuff that's been put on the kids, the whole social and medicalization, because they're going to preserve the psychological and physical integrity of the children who are not sick. They are not having medical problems prior to starting all of this stuff. They have some mental illness issues, but they're not biologically ill in any way. So good for the France government. Where is Canada? Where's the US? It's absolutely, a decade behind the times, and we're going to see tremendous lawsuits. At least I hope we see a lot of lawsuits when these children become adults, because Tavistock's facing 1,000 lawsuits at this point. There'll probably be more. Tavistock is the biggest gender clinic in the US or in the UK, and it actually stopped. It actually shut down its gender clinic earlier this year because of what surfaced from the Cass report on the risks and the outcomes for children receiving gender affirming care. So that's my 2 cents, Brad.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Dr. Ann. Attorney General Paxton in Texas has really been clear that gender transitioning procedures that hurt our children constitute child abuse under Texas law. Now, him stepping up that way is going to hopefully set a bunch more states down there in the right direction. And here in Canada, we need to do the exact same thing. Recent reports indicate that Texas Children's Hospital may be unlawfully performing such procedures. Now, unlawful procedures, that's goes without saying, that's criminal offense. So, though many unhinged activists are compromising the healthcare field and they think otherwise, children are not to be treated as science experiments. That's part of
right.
This is turning into a house of horrors, as they're calling it. State legislators have also taken action. earlier this week, they passed a bill that will ban child sex change procedures statewide. If the bill is...
But it's only one.
Yeah.
It's only one state.
That's right. So if Governor Greg Abbott, the practices exposed at the Texas Children's Hospital, will never take place again if this goes into effect. And that's what we're trying to do, is stop all of this nonsense, put this fad to rest, and move on to bigger and better things. Thank you very much for being on the program today, Dr. Ann. You can find all of our episodes at unmaskingthetransmovement.com. You can also find us on BitChute too. Just search us for Unmasking the Trans Movement News. I'm Brad Wilder. Till next time, remember, it's not our kids' fight, it's our fight. We'll see you soon.